I don't know how other people's appreciation is, so I speak only for myself. Every time we get together and do this weekend thing, we come up with a theme, and then we decide on a wisdom conversation partner. And for me, as we were thinking about what it meant for men and women who preach, to together think about building a thriving community, I wanted to have a conversation about even the ethics of language, how we talk about community, who we exclude when we're talking about community, who doesn't even get thought about. I mean, it's not even like sometimes people are being exclusive. They just don't even think about sometimes. So I don't know, that's my starting point. You can start anywhere you want to, but that's my starting point.
One of the things I was thinking about as you were telling me your starting point actually is a step further back. And for me, it begins with, who are we as people? You know, who is that person up there saying, thus says the Lord? Mm-hmm. And do we give ourselves a strong check on who we are and what we believe and what we're saying? Or do we sort of try and cram ourselves into a mold that we think we should be, and we go on autopilot about what we say? Mm-hmm. And we've not thought about it. We've not engaged it. We've just it's sort of the advanced Sunday school lesson. Yes. Who a Christian is supposed to be, how a Christian is supposed to act. And I think for me, you can't build strong communities if you don't have strong moral fiber in the members of the community. Yes. And that's even more so for the leadership of communities. And if you're going to get up in front of a congregation or lead a group of people through talking in some way, be it community organizing or whatever, and you yourself are a mess. You may be a well put together mess, but that leaks out. Yes. And people see it. Right. And sometimes folks can figure out what it is, and sometimes folks are just mystified. And the worst possible scenario is people just follow it. And then you got a messed up congregation, or a messed up social agency, or a messed up religious organization. So I start that one step back in what James Baldwin would say, doing your first works over. Mm-hmm. Doing an honest assessment of who we are and how we are. And not brag on it, but just tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Tell the truth about it. And recognize that in the midst of that, it's not going to be all bad stuff. I mean, we have such a high doctrine of sin raging around in ourselves that we forget about the doctrine of creation and grace. And so we're going to find both. And both are a part of the human condition.
So that should have sounded familiar from last night, some, did it? Because we had this conversation about the first part of finding voices, figuring out who you are and how you're going to show up in the world. Like, you have to do some excavation, some personal excavation to get there. You use the phrase that often I think is, we're not saying the same thing when we say it, depending on who says it. You use the phrase moral fiber. So let's talk about that, because most of the time in my associations, when I hear people say moral fiber, what they actually mean is a catalog of behavior. And I don't think that's what you mean by that. So let's talk about what you mean by moral fiber.
I begin with the sense of integrity. one of the most important things that I think we have